everyone, it's Rob Foglia and Jessica Klein here with Foglia Properties at Keller Williams in Nashville, and we're coming to you today to talk about the craziest real estate market we have, I think we've ever seen here in Nashville. Are you ready to just kind of dive in and talk, Jessica?
Yeah, I'm excited about this. And I think the graphs will kind of speak for themselves as we go through. I mean, this really is, it's a crazy market and it just keeps getting crazier month after month. So yeah, let's talk about what that means for everybody.
Awesome. First thing you're looking at right here is this is just the median sales price in Middle Tennessee. And I know we don't talk about this too much, but I just figured we would spotlight it real quick before we jump into what's really the heartbeat of our market. And I just want to point out that, last month anyway, the median sales price throughout all of Middle Tennessee was $300,000. That's up about 9% this time over last year. That's a great thing. I mean, that shows that for everybody who's a homeowner, they're gaining equity on a regular basis because values are maturing. And what that tells me is that you likely, if there's something that you're missing in your home, something that you're wanting, you can likely take advantage of that equity and get what you're wanting. Does that make sense, Jessica?
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I think that's a really important note. I don't think people often consider how much forced savings, we like to call it, is in their house. That's something that's very important to keep track of. And that's actually something that we can help with if people are interested to know what kind of equity they would have in their house now. We have lenders and we can look at the market and give you an idea.
Exactly. And it's for references sake, just say you bought your home 3 years ago and you're like, I don't have much equity in my home. Who are you guys talking to? The median sales price just 3 years ago, February of 18, was $245,000. And
Yep.
this year, $300,000. I mean, quick
Mhm.
mental math, what is that? About a 25% increase in value. I mean, roughly for real numbers, it's about a $55,000 equity gain for the median sales price. And so very likely you've got a chunk of money that's in there that, it's not tangible, it's frozen equity is what we call it. And yet you might be able to tap into that, to whether it's to sell your home and buy another property, or maybe buy a rental property. There's a lot of things you
Yep.
can do with it.
Or
Um,
even renovate or pay off a debt or lots of options with it.
there
Absolutely.
absolutely are. Yeah. And I love that last one you said, pay off a debt. That's something all too often people don't think about. They carry thousands of dollars in debt, whether it's in cars or credit cards or student loans or whatever it might be. And if you have that and you just want to get out of debt aside from real estate, that's an opportunity for you. And reach out to us if you have a question about it. The biggest thing, the reason why I think this is not the craziest market we've ever seen, what
Right.
you're looking at here, but the hook, the reason why we wanted to say this is the craziest market we've ever seen, is this right here, homes for sale. So this is our entire MLS. So that's all of Middle Tennessee. And you'll see here on the left side, the entire MLS is down almost 57% in the amount of homes for sale, which is just crazy. So in February of this year, there are roughly 7,900 homes for sale. February of last year, over 18,000. And so, I mean, that's roughly, what is that, 10, 11,000 homes that are not available today that were available last year. What does this tell you about the market, Jessica?
I mean, there's definitely an incentive to sell right now. I'll say that. And I mean, it looks crazy in this view. We were looking at these stats earlier in the week, and if you pull back a few more years, you really start to understand this within a larger context. I mean,
This is
that's a
5 years.
that's a crazy market. Look at that. I mean, so we were on an upward trend, and then essentially COVID hit, and interest rates dropped, and so demand skyrocketed, and we don't have all that many listings on the market right now.
Exactly. And this might be the view you were referencing a second ago, Jessica.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, basically going back as far back as the system allows us to, and that's into 2018. And you can see how previous to now, to the recent trends anyway, the lowest amount of inventory, lowest amount of homes we'd ever seen was in December of 16. There were about 11,800 homes for sale. That was 4 or 5 years ago. And now it's two-thirds of that, three-quarters of that, at about 7,800, which is crazy. And typically, normally come January and February, we at least see it rise a little bit from where December was, and you can see when we look at the Well, here, let's look at the new listings and we'll show you what we mean. Like typically what we see, this bottom is December.
Mhm.
And so, and that's normal because less people want to move around the holidays and, for that 30-day period or so. So there's less homes that come on the market in December, but then it comes back up around January and February. Then it really starts to peak in the springtime. The thing that's concerning to me looking at this is there were roughly within 30 or 20 or 30 listings, the same amount of homes that hit the market in February this year as there were 2 months ago in December, which is when, again, December is when people typically aren't moving. So the reason why we're sharing this is if you are a homeowner and you've thought at all about moving, this is the time to look into this. We may never see another market like this. When it comes down to it, I guess the best way to put it is real estate's all about supply and demand. And we can talk all about demand and the home buyers, like you said, Jessica, that are out there. That's not a tangible thing. We can't look at it and say there are 50,000 or 30,000 or whatever, how many home buyers are out there. There's not a way to track that. But what we can show you is the amount of demand that's out there and what that is relative to it. Relative to the home buyers is what we're saying. You know what I mean? And so the fact that, the supply, I said demand, the amount of supply that's out there relative to the home buyers, and the supply is down. And when supply is down and we put another good out there for sale, another home out there for sale, that's going to allow us to take advantage of the low supply and get a high price. Is this making sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, essentially, we don't have enough supply for the demand that's out there. And the way real estate works, I mean, it can't possibly stay on this downward slope. I mean, we're essentially at zero listings at this point. I think we were looking at a smaller market the other day, earlier this week, and it wasn't even 1 month of inventory available.
Well,
So
yeah. Here, let's
some
show.
point, yeah,
Let's
go
go
for
into
it. Pull
that.
that up. At some point, we're going to see an increase in supply and we're going to see a decrease in demand. And that's going to change the story for people who are interested in selling.
Well, and we're already kind of seeing that decrease in demand. And as I mentioned, there's not a tangible number for us to give when it comes to decrease in demand. Like demand's still high. Don't get me wrong when I say
Right.
this, but there are so many people excited. On average, I talk to about 100 people a week about their real estate needs. Right, if we had to give a number, and I can't tell you how over the last 2 to 3 months, really probably 6 months, but really over the last 2 to 3, I have heard more often than not, well, I'm not going to sell my home because I'm not seeing anything that I like, or I'm not gonna buy right now because there's lack of options for me. And that right there is the market softening. Like that's the
Yes.
boots on the ground, like the voice to voice communication of the market softening. And if you're a home seller and you're thinking about, a homeowner, I should say, and you're thinking about selling, you're thinking about getting that home with more land, or maybe you're wanting to downsize, you're wanting to get out of that big home that you've got, and you want to move to a condo or a townhome, whatever the case might be. Take advantage of this opportunity. You mentioned this before, Jessica, months of supply. Um, Real quick real estate lesson for everybody: 6 months of supply is what's considered a balanced market. So like when we go back all the way back here, that's this trend line that we're seeing where my mouse is hovering over. So that trend line, you can see we've been in a seller's market because we've been below 6 months for really about 7 years now, which is abnormal. However, we were getting close to it until COVID hit. And now we're at an all-time low for our entire MLS, 1.4 months. And let's just type in what do you want to say, Murfreesboro?
Sure.
Just typing in a random area outside of Nashville, you can see how this is also at an all-time low. There's less than a month of inventory. And when we're talking about a month of inventory, what that means is if no other homes hit the market from this day forward, based on how quickly homes are selling, it's going to take, according to the numbers here, zero point 0.7 months. So about 3 weeks for all the amount of homes to go away, for all the homes that are out there to go away. We've never seen this before. Again, typically that balanced market it would take 6 months for the homes to go away. The market we were seeing just 2 years ago, so let's just take February of 19, still a strong market. That was 3 months of inventory. So take what you may have experienced 2 to 3 years ago and, take a quarter of that basically. And that's the amount of homes that are out there right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. And I mean, I think that it's just because of the way the market is sitting right now. And let's be clear, there are homes to purchase. We're not at a zero inventory market. If you own a home, and especially if you own multiple homes, if you're, like you said, if you're thinking of buying in the next or selling in the next 5 years or so, you can't not look at the situation right now and just get an idea of what you might be able to sell for, or because you have an advantage now like you probably will never see again.
Exactly. Well said there, Jessica, because you're right. I mean, especially if you own multiple homes and you don't want to. Like we have a lot of clients and people that we talk to that they want to assemble a real estate portfolio. They want to hold on to those assets long term. Maybe they're getting passive income from the of rental properties, basically. Like they don't want to sell. And if that's the case, y'all, if you want to hold on to that asset forever, do it. Like we're not telling you to sell if you don't want to sell. But what we're saying is if you own a home that is, that you don't really want anymore.
Right,
Maybe it is
accidental rentals.
yeah, like
Or yeah.
maybe it was your home 5 years ago, and instead of selling, you said, "Oh, let's just rent it out." It looks cool when they do it on TV. Let's try it, and you don't like it. If you don't like it, now is when you need to sell, because now is when you have all the leverage as a seller, and you're going to be able to capitalize on these. Well, this is just Nashville right here, but you can see even in Nashville up 9.8%. Home values, the median sales price up 9.8% this time over last year. You can capitalize on this market that we might not ever see again. And I know that's such a cliche term. I love our industry, and yet I know oftentimes real estate agents will say, "Oh, it's the best market we've ever seen." For sellers, it is. Like we have never seen a better seller's market than what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, and we have the stats here to, I mean, there's really no denying it. This is very unique, a very unique time.
It really is. It really, really is. I mean, we've got a listing. I won't give any of the details out right now, but a listing coming up in a couple of weeks that is a little bit further outside of town, and a price point is a little above the average price point for that area. And typically, I would have expected that home to take a couple of weeks to go under contract. And every day, I've got at least 1 to 2 people, whether it's a potential buyer or a real estate agent representing a buyer, calling me on that property saying, "Hey, when's it coming? We need to get in there and look at it because there's nothing for sale." And so that's the market you can take advantage of as a seller that, again, we may never see again. And it's not a sales pitch. Like, these are the numbers. And if demand softens, and this number right here, so like for Nashville, 1.9 months of inventory, an all-time low, as you can see looking on the screen. If demand softens, this number is going to rise. Even if this number right here, the homes for sale, even if this number doesn't rise significantly or spike overnight, if demand softens, then the demand on your property is going to soften. It's going to hurt pricing a little bit. And so just something to keep in mind, that this is a limited window of opportunity. We don't know how long the window is going to last. Could last 3 months, 6 months, a year. We don't know. And yet at the same time, we know we're not going to see this forever, because this is just so extreme that it just can't last.
Yep, yep. And moral of the story, now's the time to look at your situation. We're here even when you're not selling a house. We're here for information, we're here for advice. Just let us know, and we're ready for you.
Absolutely. And if you're in that boat of thinking, well, hey, maybe I would sell, but I can't find what I want to buy, and I just don't want to be pressured, reach out to us directly. We've got a cool new program that we're going to be able to unleash in a couple of, maybe even next week. Can't talk about it too much yet on camera. And yet we can say we're going to be able to kind of flip the script in terms of being able to help you buy a home before you sell. Even if you don't want to have 2 mortgages, even if you think you're going to be a contingent home buyer, we're going to be able to figure out a new way to serve you and to get you taken care of. And so if you're interested in this, want to learn more, reach out to us directly. You can comment on this post. If you're getting this in your email, you can respond to the email. You can call us 615-591-5665 or email us info@foliaproperties.com.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks y'all so much. See you next week.